Daytime Chicago is sponsored by NYCASA Behavioral Health Services.
It's accessible as picking up your cell phone, and while gambling can be a fun thing for some people to do, for others, it can be problematic.
Elizabeth Thielen from NYCASA Behavioral Health Services has details on how they can help.
Used to have to drive somewhere, go to a casino or go to a track or something like that, and now it's as close as our phones. So it is a time when more people are turning to gambling just because it's so much closer to us. So it's really important that people realize that there can be risks involved and there's ways to participate that are safer, especially since so many people are being exposed to it now.
Well, and during the pandemic, a lot of people were bored and they were spending downtime on their devices. I'm sure it got to be a much bigger problem.
Definitely, and there were lots more ways to gamble on our phones, and people had some financial uncertainty, so they thought, well, maybe if I gamble, I can, get a windfall or something like that. So we had a lot of people turning to gambling in ways that it wasn't intended. It's intended as a form of recreation that's budgeted for, not as a means of employment and not as a means of self-soothing.
So who is likely the biggest target for gambling, or who suffers from gambling addiction problems the most?
Well, anybody who gambles can be at risk, but most people who gamble are able to do so without significant consequences. But there are some people who are at greater risk, including adolescents and young adults, military and veterans, athletes, senior citizens, and even some racial and ethnic groups.
Really? Is that just because of whatever they're involved in is so singular, they don't have a wider base?
Well, there are a lot of reasons for it. Sometimes it has to do with brain development when it comes to both adolescents, young adults, and even seniors. Athletes, I'm a former athlete myself, so I know firsthand some of the characteristics that we have that maybe make us not good gamblers.
That is so interesting. Okay, so there is obviously help out there. What makes you guys, sets you guys apart from other places?
Well, we've actually been providing gambling services in Lake County for 20 years now, and we provide a broad range of services, both from prevention up through treatment. So we know that many people will choose to participate in gambling, and that's okay. We don't tell people you can't gamble. We do want people to know that there are risks involved and how to be safer if they choose to do it. And it's more important than anything else that people who are struggling with gambling problems know that they're not alone and that there's help available.
And also, what a lot of people might not know is there's been all these discussions about casinos coming to the Chicagoland area, and there's one coming.
Right, and there's one coming right to our county seat in Lake County, so we're getting one in Waukegan. So there could be people who are living in that area who were just fine, but with the proximity of a casino, it might be a concern for them. So they can absolutely reach out for help, talk to a counselor, and say, what do I want to do in order to be safe? If there are people in the community that think, I want to go do this, it sounds like fun, great, contact us, let's talk about how to be safe about doing that.
There is this word addiction that is out there, and it's such a stigma.
It is.
So how do you take that off of something? Because you think of alcohol and drugs, very different than gambling, but not very different.
But not very different. Actually, brain scans show that the brain reacts very similarly to gambling as it does to certain drugs. And so we do worry about that stigma related to the word addiction, and gambling disorder is actually the proper term for somebody who ends up having some difficulties with gambling. But it is the only non-substance addictive disorder that's recognized by the American Psychiatric Association.
Well, and speaking on a national level, you guys have been recognized on a national level as well.
Yes, we're so excited about this. So the National Council on Problem Gambling has put out 4 grants, and we are one of 4 recipients in the nation to receive this grant. It's funded by the NFL Foundation and in part by FanDuel. And they're supporting nonprofits who are working to prevent problem gambling in their community. So we have an excellent group of teens who are working to raise awareness of teen problem gambling, and this grant is going to help us to expand that.
Yeah, to learn more about problem gambling and where to turn to should you or someone you care need help, grab your phone, scan the QR code you see there on the screen. You get some more information, or of course you can always call the information on your screen, or call the number on your screen, excuse me.